Hi, my name is Paul Solt from Super Easy Apps, and I want to continue the series where I'm updating one of my apps. So this app that you see here, I guess you're seeing it above me and all around me, is Photo Table, and it's an Objective-C app that I haven't updated in a really long time. There's a crashing bug on iPad. I want to go over what it's like to fix one of those bugs just so that you can sort of see it. Right now, the app is stuck, so let's take a look. We've got an exception that has been thrown in Objective-C or in iPhone apps when you have a crash. If it's an older app, you're going to have a main function. And inside of that, we're going to see that I did something bad or something is not working properly. So what we see here is your application has been presenting a UI alert controller of a certain style, the modal presentation style of the alert controller with this UI presentation popover, and you must provide the popover through the alert controller's popover presentation controller. So we need to provide location. It wants to know this location stuff. And we need to either provide a source view and a source rec, or we need to provide a bar button item. So I was trying to delete something. So let's see how we create this bug, because understanding how to reproduce and document a bug is really important as a software developer. So if you're trying to fix an issue or you're trying to provide feedback to the development team of an application, you need to know how to reproduce the issue. And I couldn't remember how to do this. I tried it on my iPhone and it worked perfectly. And then I remembered, oh, I think I was on my iPad when this issue happened. And the iPad's a little bit different. So what we're going to see here is the iPad screen. This is the last UI update before that crash has happened. And what we can see is that the app is just stuck. We can see that I was in a popover UI element for iPad, and I had selected an image I wanted to get rid of. It's an image of sun lotion that just splattered everywhere. It kind of looks weird as a photo. I didn't want it in the album, and I was trying to delete it, and that caused the app to crash. So let's take a look at this. We can't do anything to recover from this crash at this point. So this is an NS exception. Anytime you're looking at this, you're going to see like your apps logs down here. Then you're going to see terminating. You're going to see the first call stack. Over on the left, we may or may not see useful information. So this is our debugger. We're on the debug navigator. And we're just going to have an exception here. So the call stack is not actually useful in this situation because we've already thrown. I think we could set up a breakpoint. So let's see if we can set up a breakpoint for this. Let's do an exception breakpoint. And I'm just going to call this exception breakpoint, or just exceptions. It really doesn't matter. And we'll just add that. And I don't know how old some of these other ones are. I think I was looking at some other stuff, so we'll keep the other ones. Okay, so if we go ahead and rerun this, I'm going to hit the run button up top, and then I'll bring my iPad over in front of me. Okay, so it's starting up the application. Let's bring this up. So you're going to see the first album has opened up, and I rotated by accident. So let's see if we can fix that. Okay. Doesn't want to unrotate. All right, rotating is also going to be a little bit buggy because I have not updated this for rotation, and there's going to be issues. So we open up the application. We can see the photos. You can see the sun lotion. It just splattered everywhere. This is us at the beach. We're getting ready. And Steph or myself, one of us dropped the sun lotion and it just exploded. Okay, so I wanted to get rid of that. And so in order to get that out of this album, I go in and I manage the album, and then I'm going to select the photo that I don't want to keep, and I'm going to hit delete. So when we do this, we should get the exact location where this is crashing. Now the app is going to freeze if it hits that breakpoint. And let's see what's going on over here, because I'm expecting something. one of the things I've noticed is that in Xcode 15, so if we look at Xcode 15 has been slower with the debugger, and it doesn't look like it's actually, okay, there we go. We presented a UI alert controller, and we've caught the exception. But it's not giving us any details of where it is. Am I filtering? I must be filtering here. Hold on. There's no user code here. So what I'm looking for is user code, which is going to have this little icon here of the person. And all we're seeing is the call stack. So this is just going to be a lot of, we're looking at not assembly language. Sorry, this is assembly language. So it's low level code and it's all the underlying stuff. We're just looking at the low level details, not super useful. The most important or most useful thing are actually these text comments that sort of show us what these assembly language lines represent. So we can sort of see this is related to the UI popover presentation controller is about to transition, and then we're throwing our exception. So we caught the exception, but there's still not a whole lot we can recover with right here. So if I hit play, we should see that it just then terminates the app due to that exception. The app's going to be hung and frozen as long as Xcode is open. And we can just stop the app and start it up again. So what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to delete. So when I'm working in a code base I don't understand or I don't know very well, and this one I haven't updated for probably 10 years. So it's pretty foreign to me. Like I sort of know where some things are, but it's been so long that I don't really know where everything is. It does look like we're running into this Wi-Fi debugging issue. I've got the iPad plugged in, but it is, so you can see, I'll just show it. It's plugged in with USB-C, and it's still defaulting to the, I think, Wi-Fi to do the debugging. So it was super slow. You saw it. It took a super long time for the debugger to actually catch up, show me the stack frame, show me the error message, show me where it just died. And so now we have to figure out, okay, what's going on? Where is this? Let's try and track it down so that we can actually fix it. So where do I want to start? So this warning is not new to me. I know that I have a lot of issues in the app. Apple has sort of migrated to new UIs, and this was written with some of the old UIs. So what we're going to see are a lot of warnings. We can filter these. So this is going to be a UI alert controller, and we can sort of see all the UI alert controller warnings that I have in this application because I haven't updated it for 10 plus years. And some of these are going to crash. Like this one is crashing because I'm not providing metadata for where the popover needs to appear. And it needs to come off of this button based on how this was implemented, or it needs to appear in the center of the screen. And the behavior has changed on a lot of this stuff. So we're going to have to find where we are. So getting back to how do I debug something that I don't know. When I was at GoPro, we had a really big code base and there's so much code, so many places to look. It's hard to find the stuff you're looking for. So my first hint for you is start searching for strings. If you see any text strings, whether they're localized strings or they're not localized, in this case, we did not localize anything. So I can search for something like settings right here, or I can search for delete, or I could search for add to table. Those are going to get me into the places that I need to go. And in this case, this delete with the 1 is definitely a clue that we can use when we're searching. So if we search here for delete and then the open parenthesis, we may get a result. We may not. I might be doing some text combination here. So we might be doing something like the delete like this and then appending something to it. We could be dynamically appending to it. So it might not necessarily be as straightforward. So that's the one thing you have to keep in mind. So in Objective-C, when we're working with text strings, I'll just make this slightly bigger. We're always going to have an @ symbol in front of it, and you're going to see a lot of these square brackets for the objects. When we're working with objects, we allocate them, which means we create the memory space, and then we initialize them. And so that's the outer and the inner. So we allocate, we work our way out, and then we create the object here. So this is calling a constructor or initializer called init with title. We give it a string title, we give it a style, we give it a target, which is where these actions are going to impact. So what do I want to do here? We're looking for the delete bar button. This is a potential anchor that we could use. So let me pull up my notes here. I like to work in Markdown, and I'll go over this in a little bit. So this is sort of me investigating this crash. I'll put a date here. Today is my birthday, so that's kind of exciting. My parents were just here, and they just left. And so let's go ahead and see what we can find with this. So I do see the add to table, so that's a clue that we're in the right section. We're working with NS strings. NS stands for next step. So when you're working with Objective-C, that's why you see a lot of NS, or if you're working in iPhone land, you'll see a lot of UI stuff. So those are just some things to look out for. Let's see. Let's check out this action. So this is a selector. A selector is just a method. I'm just going to search for this or jump to this. And if we just do a search here, we can find it. So I've got an action sheet, and this action sheet is deprecated. So what we need to do is we need to update this to the latest version. And so Apple is telling us that we should be using a UI alert controller with preferred style UI alert controller sheet instead. So let's copy this in. I'm going to have a number of places where I need to do this. And apparently on iPad, all of these places are going to crash if I'm trying to invoke them, so that we're going to have to fix them so that this doesn't happen. Okay, so UI alert controller, let's open up the documentation. That's Command Shift 0 to do the keyboard shortcut for that. And we can start searching for that. And if Xcode likes us, we can get right to it. Oh, I was making a comment about the debugger being slow. Let's talk about that maybe after we get a little bit further with this. But the debugger being slow is related, I think, to the Wi-Fi. And we'll just have to talk about that after I get this going. All right, so we want to do a UI alert controller. Now we're in Objective-C, so this is going to look a little gnarly if you're used to Swift. I don't really want to write this in Swift. I've got another component, the screen before this, that I potentially want to update to Swift. Maybe Swift UI, just to sort of show that off. But for this, I don't want to, just because I know that two of my apps use this, and it's going to just make it more difficult to maintain this code right now. So let's take a look at this. Apple's giving us some code snippets that we can just sort of copy and paste and use as a starting point. We're going to use the alert style. You can't subclass this. The hierarchy is private and shouldn't be modified, so we shouldn't be throwing UI into this thing and messing it up. And what we're really trying to get is, if we just want to sort of see what this looks like, that's not going to help us go into the same exact thing. So you can search for this online and you'll get the same exact thing, but I just want to show you sort of what this looks like. So it's just one of these pop-ups. There's two different styles. You can either have this style down here, or you can have this style. Depending on the content, it could be a 3-button thing where it goes vertical, and sometimes there's an option to put in custom views and stuff like that. Okay, so that's kind of what we're working with here. What do I need to do here? Well, let's go ahead and just paste in the code that Apple has given us as a starting point, just to have a frame of reference. And we need to transform our message into this format. So typically I'll comment stuff like this out and then I'll just write it myself. So we're going to do a UI alert controller, and we called this an action sheet. It technically is an action sheet. This one's weird because we're already in a popover. So I don't know what's going to happen here. Let's just go with it. Okay, and the alert is going to be this message. And then delegates, that's not here. It's almost like our title and our message are going to be very similar. So I'm probably going to do, this is a nullable message. Let's for right now just do nil, which is the same as null. And then let's do the UI alert action sheet. This may or may not be the right answer. So let's sort of see what happens here. So we're creating it here with those braces. And I'm going to get rid of that opening. And then we need a semicolon in Objective-C. Let's make this a little smaller because it's taking away all of our copious lines of code here. So that's going to create it. And then we want to present. This might get gnarly. We're going to have to go into two different places to update this. Okay, I'm just going to copy part of this. We'll comment this out. We're going to have to find where this is going because the old API is a little bit different than the newer API. And here we're going to say delete. And this one we want not the default style, but we want destructive. So it's like the red icon. So if we're looking at this, we want that kind of like delete button, or here you'll see the sign out or the destructive option. So let's go that. Okay, here's the method that we're going to look for next. That's the action sheet UI. And let me just grab this chunk of code. Old, I hopefully have a keyboard shortcut here. Okay, so that's our old code. This is the new code. We're going to start writing. Okay, I'll comment that out again because I don't want that. And then we've got some kind of handler. Now this is where we're going to put our new logic to delete that we have to go find. And then hopefully we can present this. Honestly, like the presentation's a little bit different, so I'm not sure off the top of my head. I think I'm in a view controller. PS image picker. It's been so long. This is a view controller. Okay, so that's good. Okay, so now I'm going to do a keyboard shortcut. Control backslash is going to take me to all the changed locations and I'll cycle through. So you'll see a little cycle. Currently, there's just one so that we can get back to the action. And here we're going to say present view, and you can just start typing controller. You don't have to type everything. Apparently I didn't type enough. Present view controller. Okay, so this is the method that we're looking for. You'll see on the left here, it's going to have an M, which means method. And then we're going to see a couple options here. This one I think is deprecated, so don't do it. I wish it had like warnings on some of this stuff, but it doesn't. So let's go ahead and do the controller that we want to present. And then in this case, it's going to be that action sheet. And then we're going to say yes for the bool. So bools in Objective-C are yes and no, not true and false. So yes in all caps. And then our completion, if we want to do anything, I don't think there's anything. And so we should be able to, oh, it's not nullable. I think we need that completion. So we can write something like, I have an ALog, which is the same thing as NSLog, but this is just a macro done. Okay, and this is just the presentation. This is not when the action is actually occurring. This is going to be our delete. So I'm going to just do an ALog here. Okay, now ALog is going to be very similar to NSLog, but it provides me some other things. So you can just type a message and see that in the console in Objective-C. So ALog, just so you know, is defined like this. And I'll just have a reference to that macro. So this is an Objective-C macro. I guess it's technically C-ish code. And it's going to be printing the function, the line, and some other stuff. So that's how I get all this stuff for free. So this is just basically giving me a trace through the application without having to do extra work. We had to manually do some of this in some of the GoPro code base, so it's kind of nice to get some of that. And then seeing this. Though the new OS log stuff is supposed to do a lot of this, that's not integrated, so I'm not going to be using that for this. Okay. So let's try this out. And I made a default action, but I did not add it. So if you see here, we have to add the action. So let's go ahead to our action sheet, add action, and then we'll pass in this default action. This is, I don't know why I'm calling it a default action. This should be the delete action. Just make it as descriptive as possible. I always like putting the asterisk or the pointer star on the variable name here. So action sheet, I put star action sheet just because this is a pointer, and a pointer is a reference type to another object. And so that allows us to say, okay, I have this variable stored at this location, and all I'm storing is a pointer to some other chunk of memory. And that is this. This is our other chunk of memory that's being allocated and initialized with some configuration. So let's go ahead and run this on the iPad. And now let's talk about how to get the debugger to be faster. So one thing that makes this slow is, I don't know why we have a random arm there. Yeah, some kind of weird photo. The debugger is slow when the Wi-Fi is on. And so one of the things that you can do is if you just click up here on the control center on your iPad, turn off Wi-Fi while you're doing some debugging, and it may help with the debugger performance. So let's go back here. And we have a build failed, but apparently I didn't hear my sound effects. Are my sound effects coming out somewhere? I got a new computer and I mostly set it up, but Did they get rid of the option to keep this in the bar? Where is it? Volume. I search for things and I honestly don't know how to read this. Show in menu bar. Show in menu bar. I am not seeing volume. Show volume in menu bar. Am I blind? Sound. Always show in menu bar. Okay. That's kind of what I wanted. And then in Xcode behaviors, I should be hearing something. So if I do a build and it fails, oh, this is not configured again. Play sound. So you can choose a sound effect. That's what I play when it's good. I guess I'm doing that one. They renamed some of these. Okay, we're going to play that one. When it fails, when it succeeds. On a longer build, the reason I like this, I forget which one it was. That one, funky. I do this one on succeeds. So now I get an audio cue that, oh, I messed up. Because otherwise I'm looking around and I'm like, what did I mess up? I've got so many warnings over on the left that it's hard to see, like, what are the actual failures? And those are the warnings. If I'm building, I only want to see the build failure. So over here on the left of the issue navigator, so we were looking at all the issues, and then all these warnings can be overwhelming because you don't see the actual issue. So we're missing a semicolon somewhere because Objective-C needs semicolons. So if we turn that to filter just errors, we can easily see that, okay, this is not working. When I build, it fails. So every Objective-C method call, this is a method call that takes a completion, which is right here. This is a chunk of code. It's a block, similar to a completion in Swift. And I'm just going to put a semicolon there, rerun. And now we hear the good sound effect. I'm not sure if I'm recording sound effects for my Mac, so hopefully that came across a little bit on my microphone. We'll find out when we look at this video. Okay, so now let's jump down into our album, and I'm going to just select one of these images. Let's say delete. And is this going to debug faster? So it looks like it's debugging faster. Okay, so now we have to do the second step. So I fixed the first step, but we still have an issue here. The issue is this second one. And I'll do to do or fix me. So this is what we need to do. And we either need to do this or we need to do this. It's either this or this. So in this case, I'm coming from the delete button. So I'm hoping that we can just set that up. And so we need to set this on the popover presentation controller. And I believe that is just self.popover presentation controller dot. And then we could do bar button item equals, and then we pass in the bar button item, which we knew up top. is the delete bar button item pressed. So let's go back to where this was created. This is the delete bar button item. And I hope I have a reference to this somewhere. Yeah, I definitely do. Okay, whoops. Control, Command, left and right arrows are going to allow me to navigate back and forth. Got to get back to where we were. Okay, I'm just doing Command Shift F to search. Command Shift F to search, and then type or paste whatever I need here. And then in here, we're just looking for my code that I'm changing. So the popover presentation bar button item is going to be equal to that delete bar button item. And then if we go ahead and present, crossing our fingers, we should see something, but we still have to do the actual deletion. So let's go ahead and do that. We'll go over here on the actual iPad, go to the album, click on one of the photos to delete, hit delete, and see what happens. Did I hit delete? I hit delete. So you can see that the button is still pressed right over here on the right. So Xcode's thinking hard. Okay, so here's our delete logic. And that's our cancel logic. So this is the only thing in PS image picture that's actually using the action sheet. So maybe my trick does not work with Xcode. I thought this would speed it up, but it is not any faster. We're obviously hitting either a breakpoint or something. If I turn off the exception, let me come back to the app. Okay, let's set a breakpoint and find out what's going on here. So I'm just going to rerun this, Command R to rerun the application. It's reinstalling it. We'll jump back over to Xcode and go back over here. Oh, it's not a touchscreen there. Okay, go on the iPad, find the image, hit delete. Now we're going to hit the Xcode breakpoint that I just set so that we know exactly where we are. This is our call stack. This is what we weren't seeing before. So this shows us the main application is running, and then we see all the event loops. We see UI updates, and then we're getting an event for touch. So we're sending touch events right here, and it's sending it down the UI chain. The bar button item is getting an action. It's invoking its action. It's triggering. It's sending the action. And then that is causing our logic to run right now. So we're in the delete bar button pressed method. So this void method that takes a sender, which is the bar button itself, is going to be called. And this is trying to present our action sheet. I don't know if this is going to work as is. So if we go ahead and run, apparently we just stall here. iPad is totally unresponsive. I think it could be related to how we're doing this. So let's try not doing an action sheet. Well, let's switch this over to alert, rerun it, and see if it's any different. If that, or we hit the reboot Xcode, see if that helps. Okay, tap the button, click it, tap the photo, hit delete. We're going to hit my breakpoint, which I have. I can disable it just by clicking on it, or I can drag it off and throw it away. Hit resume in this bottom bar. Okay, nothing happens. You know what? This is probably complicated. Let more complicated because I'm in a popover. Honestly, I have no idea. It's just hung. Oh no, this is bad. Oh, this is really bad. This is why it's hung. We're doing something bad. So what's happening is the memory is going up and up and up and up and up. We have a memory leak somehow. It's just slamming memory. And you can see we're going out of the green soon. We're going to be going into the yellow and then the red. I don't know why it's doing this. Okay, so let's look at the code. Let's see if we can figure out what's going on. Let's pause it, see if that gives us any insight. It's doing some kind of animation. Pause it again, see if it's like in the same spot. So we're in UI view animation. It's resizing. It could be related that this is deprecated, this whole popover. So it might not like that. So we might need to update that and this to get this to work. But it's super weird that we don't see anything. Let's try not presenting it and see if we still have an issue. I'm assuming that we're not going to have an issue. I'm probably calling it in the wrong spot. It's probably the popover controller needs to present this. So that's probably the other problem. But maybe that's not the only problem. Oi. Okay. This is the logic we want. We're not even doing this logic though. And somehow memory is just going way up, 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 and up. Okay. Next thing when I encounter something like this, let's just comment this code out. And if we set a breakpoint in this method, we can go in, delete. We're hitting the breakpoint for that method. We hit continue. We're at 74 megabytes. I hit delete. We're still at 74 megabytes. Okay, so we did a quick test to sort of sanity check what's going on. Okay, next let's look at what we're doing here. Am I doing something silly? Am I doing something that doesn't make sense? So let's look at this full screen. I'm going to hide the left bar. And we're going to look at the code line by line. So we're creating a UI alert controller. And I don't know if I can format this with that new... It must be a Swift thing. Okay, so we're creating an alert controller with a nil message. I don't know if that's problematic. We tried switching the style. That didn't seem to help. I thought it might help. Destructive action. We add an action to the action sheet. And then we set the popover presentation. So the next thing we could do is we could try commenting out everything except this. Run it, see if that's going to behave any different. But this could be because of the legacy popover. So we might need to update that and then come back to this bug. We go ahead and run. We still have that breakpoint, so let's just get rid of it and hit play. So that's not causing an issue. Let's go ahead and create our action and add it. Run it again, Command R to run. So honestly, I have no idea. I haven't tried fixing this bug. I have no idea what's going on here. So this is kind of a learning experience. And this is how a lot of code is. Like, you think something's simple and then you get into it and you're like, I don't know. I don't know what's going on here. So let's delete this. I hit delete and nothing happens. Or at least it's not hanging the animation. Okay. This line must be the problem then. So if we do this, it's going to probably complain. So I'll go ahead, grab that photo, tap it, hit delete. Oh, perfect. That one actually showed up. Oh, okay. So then let's try and copy this. I'll comment this out, paste it again. We'll switch this back to action sheet. Now, so it's not crashing, but now if we set this, let's see if this behaves any differently. Okay, tap on this, tap here, click on one of the photos, hit delete. And it does not like that. Must be the wrong view hierarchy. So let's jump up here. I'm looking for a popover. This is what happens when you forget how this code works. I'm just searching around for this stuff. Looks like we worked around some kind of weird bug on a previous version where we had to change the content size multiple times. Okay, we're going to take a short break and I will be back. All right. So we're back at it. And not really sure what's going on here. I just had to get some water because it's getting a little warm in here. Okay, so I think we have a solution. It's to not... We could use a... I wonder if we could do that. We have that in my notes. I think. No, we don't. Oh, I didn't. Okay. What I think... We have two options. One is to show it in the alert sheet. The other is to potentially show it in a pop-up button. So we've got the button system for UI Kit. This is with iOS 15. I was thinking I could do it similar to how I have the other button. So let's load up the app again. Okay, and then I just did this, but I don't know if it's going to be good enough. Can I do a destructive? Okay, so that is, let's find where I have select file. Jump right to that. Okay, we're going to search for UI action destructive. That's the alert action. We're going to look for a UI action. Okay, so there's an options. Did I see an options in my code? Something doesn't seem right. I'm not sure. Action. I'm not seeing the options. Okay, so I think I'm just gonna, in the interest of time, not go down that rabbit hole. Okay, so we're back to where we were. I've got a delete action. Setting this up doesn't seem to do the trick. I think what we want is just the alerts style. And then that should solve our problem. It's not anchored to anything. It's kind of weird to be anchored in here, to be honest. I don't love how this is currently designed, but I don't want to do a ton of changes here. So are you sure you want to delete these photos? Now my only option is to delete. And oh, I don't want to. But it's not going to do anything just yet. So let's just hit delete. It's not going to do anything. Okay, so we need a non-destructive option. So let's just duplicate this logic. I don't think we're going to be using that logic. And this is going to be our OK action. I thought there was a default action, maybe called default action. Do nothing. Okay. Get rid of this. Okay, so we add that action. Now we go ahead. Whoops. We don't want the title delete. So this is going to be cancel. And okay, cancel. It's really a cancel action. So let's rename that. I always like to be descriptive here. So I think when you're picking names, make them as descriptive as possible. Sometimes you have to go back and you have to clean up things and just get them going. Okay, so if this works, then we can tie in the actual delete logic and we can test that out. Okay, so now we see the, are you sure you want to delete these photos? Is there anything I want to change? I probably don't want to do it as this. I'm probably going to say delete photos. Do I know how many photos are selected? Let's go to delete logic. Okay, so we're going to have a count here. This is a mutable array. It's going to give me all of the things to remove, and then we go ahead and delete them. So if we cancel, we cancel. How will I know? Okay, so these are both separate. So I'm going to be able to delete this. We're going to put the delete logic in here. We unselect everything. Hopefully this doesn't cause any issues. So we're going to grab them. We know what's selected. So for our message, we could customize the message. So let's go ahead and try that. And we're going to have two different options here. So let's go with, okay, and then what we're going to act on is this array. It's a mutable array, and it's going to have a count property is greater than 1. Then we're going to do this, else we're using the ternary operator here. So else we're going to just do delete photo. So that is our title string. And then we're going to do the same for our message. So we need a message, and then I'll probably do this on separate lines just because it's going to be similar. So we're going to copy this out. Are you sure you want to delete these photos? And this is our single photo. So this would be delete this, your photo. Let's go with this photo. Are you sure you want to delete this photo? This is a good word to use in copy editing. It makes it very tangible as to what you're talking about, or so the UX UI researchers at GoPro tell me. So I think that's a good choice. And then we'll paste in the other one. So are you sure you want to delete these photos? And we'll make it plural. Question mark. Okay, and then we're missing our semicolon. That's what I think is complaining about. So we go ahead and do that. Okay, so this is the ternary operator. We basically have an expression here. So selected image source indices dot count greater than 1, which means do we have more than one photo selected? In this case, we want to say delete photos as the title instead of delete photo. And then if there's multiple, same thing. We're doing another ternary operator with the question mark symbol here. So this gets executed if it's true, and this gets executed if it's false. So we have expression, question mark, true, colon, false. Okay, so let's go ahead and use that. So previously we weren't using a message. We're going to change this. I'm just going to comment that out for right now. Then we'll clean it up. There's going to be our title. And then we're going to pass in our message here. So let's go ahead and see. Yeah, we're only going to have one message here. So let's just call it message and title. Go ahead and run it. We're getting closer. I wasn't sure how I wanted to fix this, and it's always a question. So let's delete this one photo, and this is perfect. Okay, so delete photo. Are you sure you want to delete this photo? And then cancel and delete. So let's hit cancel. Hopefully it doesn't get deleted because we don't have logic for that. Let's go to a different album. No, I guess this one's fine. We can delete. I can always get these photos back. So let's make it so this is a help album again. So let's select 2 of these photos, and then let's just say delete. Are you sure you want to delete these photos? Cross our fingers, hope this works. Okay, so the pictures of my daughter were removed from this album, and they went away, cleared out. If we start cycling, we can sort of see, okay, did it actually delete? You can just throw images off the screen in this app. And we look pretty good. So we got 2 more. Let's go ahead and do that again. Let's go ahead and select delete. Are you sure you want to delete these photos? If I hit cancel, it's not going to delete. If I do it again and then hit delete, it's going to delete. So you can see that we use the ternary operator here to send the message. We can get rid of this. And we're not going to do the action style because apparently that caused a memory leak. The other thing that I didn't go over is our ALog. So here, if we search and filter, we can see that delete this image appears. If I don't want to filter my log output, I can look down at the bottom here and I can find it. So we can search for delete this image. And you're going to see type a message to the console. This is an NS log. It doesn't get anything prepended to it in this example, and this one does. So that's all my ALog statement is doing here. We've got our delete logic. I don't need this extra print statement. In this case, I would probably put this into a method. So I can reuse it. So what I'm going to do is create a method. Dash means it's an instance method. It's not a class or a static method. Void is the return type. There's going to be no return type, and we're going to delete the selected photos. It'd be nice to pass in the photos. But I'm not super concerned right here. This will just make it so I can reuse this later on. Again, we're not trying to spend a ton of time on this. We're trying to get it cleaned up so that I can get it on the App Store. This is a big bug fix for something that's so small. Hopefully it doesn't take me as long to do these next time. Okay, so let's clean this up a little bit. And we're doing a few different things here. I think that's fine for right now. Again, we're just trying to massage the code that I already have here and get it so that it's working. I can't spend forever cleaning this up. Okay, I was just checking to see if there's something I was missing here. So we're going to add our cancel action. We're going to add our delete action. We're going to delete the selected photo or photos. That's just my print statement. We've got this. So let's just look at the code here. Okay, so the delete bar button is pressed. We're fixing this warning, and we're changing this original code that leveraged this and this down here. So we're changing from here to here. Just document what we had. And I can get rid of this old code. So we no longer need this. This is deprecated. We can see the warning down here. UIActionSheet is deprecated. Use alert controller with preferred action controller sheet. That's fine. It's not going to work exactly the same as it did, but I think that's okay. And then if we go back here, we've got a new method that's going to do some of this delete logic. We're not doing the source rec or the source rec. We're not doing the bar button. That was causing a memory leak. Something weird about already being in a popover, and we're already sort of using something that's deprecated. We're creating our action sheet here. And this is something we could extract to another method if we wanted to. I think this is fine. To just not have everything perfect because we have to move on. Just include what that was. So we have a reference. So we've got that. So we'll clean this up. We can hide this so that we can just see all the code. And so this is what we've changed. We've added all of this to do our delete. So this is our new logic. And I'll have the source code elsewhere outside of the video so that if you're trying to follow along. In my blog post, you'll be able to get this code or sort of see how to transform the code with this type of stuff. Okay, so we go ahead and run. We've got this change. Way more work than I was anticipating. Let's go ahead, choose some new photos. Okay, so we had the eclipse. So let's get some eclipse cloud photos onto the table. We'll add them, adding 7 photos to the table. You can see we're pointing at the sun and it does not exist because it's cloud covered. We see all these photos. Let's go ahead and delete 2 of them. We'll see the pop-up. We can hit cancel. It shouldn't remove anything. We can hit delete. We delete. It should remove some. It's going to refresh this. If I cared, I could do more animations, but this is so old. This is before this is before collection view came out. So this was a table view that has been customized to show grid-based layout. So this is pre-collection view code. If we unselect all but one, we hit delete, we can test, we can see that that does what we expect. We can go ahead and we can delete a single photo, and then we can select a bunch. We'll delete them. We're also going to see that they get deleted from the app display, which is what we expect, and we're done. So that's how to fix a bug that was a little bit more involved than I was anticipating for this type of thing. But we now have a framework that we can apply to other issues in the app. So if we jump back over here, the code that we updated and removed was the UI action sheet. So let's look, how many other instances of UI action sheets do I have? 26 results. I use it 6 times. I'm allocating. This one I'm not actually doing anything. I think these are some debug action sheet options. So there's a couple more places I can update. Now, I'm not going to go through and show you how to update each one of these. I'm going to go in and fix the ones that I need to fix so that it doesn't crash anymore on iPad. But at least you now have a framework of how to approach some of these problems. So if this was helpful, hit the like button. If you want to learn more stuff, or if you're interested in Objective-C and I need to explain more things, just let me know down in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.